Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here, and welcome to the 17th episode of the recast. I am joined, as always, by MonstersReview.
What's up?
And today we are joined by special guest Joey from name of your channel?
Cartoon-Palooza.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. How you doing?
So we got a good show today. We're gonna talk about some peanuts.
No almonds?
No.
Okay.
None of that. But we're going to talk about two specials that aired 30 years apart, but surprisingly don't really look that different.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to talk about, probably the most well-known holiday special, aside from maybe The Grinch, and an episode that is no longer being aired by CBS or ABC, also from the Peanuts. So, the one that gets the most love and one that has no love whatsoever. But hey, it's Christmas time again. Charlie Brown had a VHS release at a gas station.
Whoa, no way.
Yeah, I did my research for this one. How you doing today, Joey?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain. Had a long day, but it's kind of just relaxing to just chill back, talk about some cartoons. I pretty much dedicate most of my time when it's on my YouTube stuff to just talk about cartoons. So it's always fun to just chill back, talk about some tunes.
Nice. What's your YouTube channel like?
All right, so I review animation. I started around 2010, end of 2010, mostly movies. But it's weird. I never really know what to focus on. Sometimes it's the movies and then the TV shows, and then I can't catch up on all the TV shows, and now there's too much TV, and it's so much all to catch up on. But yeah, mostly review animated shows. I got a 3-point rating scale, usually a worth it, a meh, and a forget about it review.
Nice.
Thank you. But yeah.
Horatio, how you doing?
Is that what you're going to refer to me as now?
Well, you what was it, 7, 8 episodes? I feel like it was either Kuro or Shadow that gave you that middle name.
I guess it's ingrained in stone now.
Mm-hmm. Your Monsters Horatio review, aka the Jolly Green Giant.
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's weird because, we're starting to talk about Christmas stuff. Black Friday just happened. We're starting to see, Christmas music and Christmas imagery all over the place. But to me, it still doesn't feel quite like that. Technically, it's still the fall.
Well, you were just in the parade a few days ago, right?
Oh, of course.
I saw your float.
Yeah. Any of you guys point me out at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade?
I did. I sent that to you. If you don't know, the Jolly Green Giant has a float.
So did Goku.
Yeah, dude, did you guys see the Goku float?
According to Al Roker, it was Goku going Super Saiyan.
Hey, listen.
Nothing. Yeah.
Listen, I watched the parade on the other channel, the one that doesn't have Al Roker. I think channel 2, the one with all the bad sitcoms. Yeah. And they were awful. They just nonstop plugged their stuff. They didn't show half the floats. They were terrible. And then later in the day, channel 4, I believe is the other one, reran their version of the parade with Al Roker. And they didn't plug hardly anything. So you know what, my man Roker, he can call a Saiyan whatever he wants.
My only problem though. My only problem with the NBC broadcast is that this is the NBC Universal thing, and they kept plugging the out of the Grinch, Illuminations, they keep plugging that Grinch movie, man, over and over and over again. You didn't notice that?
No, we watched, we had recorded it, so we fast forwarded through the actual commercials. And I don't know. It might have just been that channel 2 was so saturated. And at least, dude, I'd take a plug for the Grinch because at least that's relevant over, here's a character from Days of Our Lives. And, what have you been up to? While there's a awesome balloon going by in the background. But yeah, no, Goku looked sick. The shading on that was probably my favorite balloon of all time. Honestly, just from
oh, wow.
An artistic perspective, not from a personal character. I don't really have too much of a connection to Goku, other than the fact that he can be beaten easily by Ben 10.
It really is amazing that they spend about 18 months working on those balloons. I actually had no idea that usually they prepare for the floats 18 months ahead of time. So by this point, they're already working on the floats for 2 years coming up.
It's
Yeah.
big PR.
Yeah,
I love
it's
the parade.
really cool.
I
Yeah.
love it. Every year I watch it.
I loved on Twitter, like, some videos resurfaced from old ones, like I think it was 1997 where Barney's one just kind of like like fell over and like deflated, and then also the one with Foster's Home where they were singing that song, and then Rick Astley came out and saying
yeah.
"Never Gonna Give You Up."
That's right.
That's a classic.
Oh yeah, that's something.
It's
But yeah.
weird. Like one of my favorite floats end up being like one that's not even that big of a deal is Bug's Life. They had a big what was the character's name? Heimlich. They had a giant Heimlich float go through the parade. I
Huh.
don't know. I always found that to be kind of exciting. I don't know.
That's
Odd
cool.
one to pick out for some reason, but that one always just stuck out. Seeing that giant German caterpillar.
I gotta say also, aside from Goku, both Pikachu and SpongeBob look pretty good. And Ronald McDonald
Yeah.
look horrifying. So
And they still didn't bring back Spider-Man. That was always my favorite float too.
oh yeah, man, Spider-Man's a classic.
Yeah. There was that unfortunate picture. They had Spider-Man in the back of another balloon, and it looked kind of inappropriate.
Oh,
But
oh no.
not to go into further detail, but Google it. Actually,
should-
probably don't Google it.
They should have had a Thanos, and then like done like gray confetti.
He snaps, all the other balloons deflate.
They just pop.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Oh man.
Mr. Roker, I don't feel so good.
So that's a little bit of what we watched in the past week, I guess. But before we get into the rest of that, Monsters, you wanted to talk about an unfortunate mishap that happened with last week's episode.
Yeah, I mean, we only got recast 16, so I guess, it's the holiday spirit, and I guess we came to the conclusion that, we gave you recast 16 and a half instead.
There was an attempt at a joke there.
No, but so basically what happened was the original upload of the recast on Sunday, for some reason, even though it showed up as being the full length, wasn't the full length. It only uploaded it and it ended up by being like an hour and 43 when it was really like an hour 58. So I waited to console Pieguy about it, which wasn't until the next day, and we decided to re-upload it, and we did.
Yeah, it happens. We run a pretty tight ship in terms of like, and by tight ship I mean like we run on a tight schedule. Not that we run a tight ship. If we ran a tight ship, this probably wouldn't happen. We run on a tight schedule, and just that like, I work on a lot of the pre-production stuff, getting the guest and putting together the doc, usually coming up with the trivia, all that sort of stuff. And then by the time we get to record, Monsters has to get sent the audio, and then he has to edit it, and then he has to render it, and then he has to upload it. And it's just it's not, obviously producing a podcast is not the most time intensive thing, but to do it every single week, and Monsters has you have like a life that you're trying to
Yeah,
live,
pretty much.
Whatever it is, by the time Monsters gets around to rendering it, like the reason we don't tell you when the episodes are going to be up on Sunday is because we don't even know. It's when the render finishes and then when the upload finishes, and that takes a while. So when it's up, it's up. And I'm glad that audiences let us know, and I'm glad that people care enough about the podcast to want to actually listen to the end of a 2-hour podcast. They heard an hour 40, but they really want to hear that last 20 minutes, which I'll be honest, I kind of feel bad because the last bit of that podcast wasn't, we were just kind of randomly talking about random Disney stuff. But Nikki put together a really,
Which is awesome.
Nikki put together a good trivia game, and I'm glad we got to represent that. It's just a shame because that recast was like, aside from the SpongeBob one with the Strangler, that was probably like the most viewed in 24 hours that we'd ever gotten. It was at about like 4,000 views in a day.
Yeah, it did pretty well.
Like, which for a podcast is good. I mean, I'm sure The Lion King had something to do with it. And then the re-upload still got I think like 1,000 or 2,000. It's good. I mean, it was just it's a good episode, and it's a shame that had to happen. But anyway, we fixed it. Anyone in the future watching it, you're just gonna watch the whole episode. You might question why the title is the way it is, but otherwise, yeah.
I'm kind of glad though when you say 16 and a half, I was thinking that this was going to be your podcast, half of it, and then the other half is going to be Timon and Pumbaa watching it from the background, commenting on it, and then talking about their side to the story while the podcast was going on. So thankfully that's not what happened, or else
Monsters.
that would have been
Let's
an
steal
interesting
let's
sequel.
let's steal Joey's idea. Let's have Kuro and Shadow come in and then just commentate over our that'll
Yeah.
be
Listening to it, man, what a bunch of schmucks.
yeah. Oh goodness. All right. So, what did you boys watch in the past week aside from the Thanksgiving Day parade?
Oh wow. To be honest with you, I made kind of a killing on Black Friday shopping, and I made a very massive deal on getting my first smart TV.
Nice.
And the first thing I decided to do after beating up a couple people, getting this smart TV, is put up Hulu, and I've just been revisiting King of the Hill, a show that I
Oh.
always caught. I always caught on Adult Swim, and never really watched in its entirety. But starting from season 1, now I'm on to season 5. It's a very interesting show. I can't even say if it's gonna be one of my favorite ones, but it gave me an idea on commenting how if this show really needed to be animated. And in some ways, I think there's an argument for both sides, but I am leaning on a show that's very realistic, working in animation. It's an interesting idea because the more I always assumed that King of the Hill was like a Simpsons sort of thing made by Mike Judge, but then the more I realized that it really isn't.
No.
It's a sitcom made in animation, very straightforward, and yet it works. There are a lot of sitcoms that kind of fail in animation, where it's like, oh, we're cartoons, we can do what we want. That's not the case for King of the Hill, and I don't know. It's very addicting. I love it.
I mean,
even today, I did some fan art, and I posted some graffiti art of Dale Griffith. Dale.
nice. If King of the Hill wasn't animated, you wouldn't be able to see Hank's tiny butt. So couldn't get away with that in live action. I don't think. I don't remember that on Full House.
How else would we? There would be we wouldn't have as many funny shenanigans about propane and propane accessories, or how cotton shins were blasted off in World War II.
Yeah, I don't know how cotton would. I mean, I guess you could do cotton in real life, but yeah, no, it is
Danny
interesting.
DeVito.
Oh man.
Could you imagine Cotton Hill being played by Danny DeVito?
I could see it. I mean, he'd have to have more of like a southern accent, but I could see it.
He's Danny DeVito. Maybe we can have him redubbed by Ryan Reynolds doing a southern accent. But yeah, that's what I was watching was King of the Hill.
Nice. Monsters?
Yeah, if you guys couldn't tell, frequent listeners of the recast, I've been on a South Park kick recently.
Oh god.
So, so this past week I rewatched one of my personal favorite documentaries, 6 Days to Air.
That's a great one.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, it's basically just a camera crew comes into South Park Studios and films the kind of behind the scenes process and production of one of the episodes, which is I think it's season 15's first episode, Human Centipede.
Yeah.
It's now some people consider it a classic, but yeah, it's a really cool documentary. I love seeing their creative process and just kind of the way that certain moments of Trey and Matt in the VO booth saying the lines and cracking up and seeing them do the animation and the lip sync. It was a really invigorating and interesting documentary.
I remember seeing that documentary too, and I remember really enjoying the fact that I always assumed that it was done in Flash animation, but realizing they used Maya to replicate the look of the cutout animation. And to me, that just blows my mind, because when you use Maya, they can incorporate better effects than as opposed to just using Flash.
Yeah.
something like that was just, it kind of blew my mind. On top of the fact that I thought it was really cool that when the documentary was being made, it was right after Book of Mormon was a hit. So it's
Yeah.
kind of cool for them to see how the transition was from making a Broadway hit to going back to South Park. It was a really good documentary.
That was also
Yeah.
the documentary where I realized that Cartman has like a tiny bit of a lisp. Because you can't tell as much when they pitch up the voices, but hearing Matt and Trey do the boys, their voices, it's interesting. Like it's weird.
I also love Bill Hader, and he's in the documentary.
Oh, he's amazing. I think it's great too how Cartman's voice was first season, and then they bring it up a higher pitch. It really was a little bit lower, and then they just go a little bit higher.
It's actually really funny that South Park came up because if you know anything about early South Park, one of the inspirations was kind of satire on Peanuts. Like there's the whole reason Stark's Pond exists is so they could do the bit, like in the Charlie Brown Christmas special, like where they're skating. The characters have a pose that they still use today, where they rest their heads on their hands, and their hand shape is like exactly like Charlie Brown. And even in the early one, I think they had I'm pretty sure they had a brick wall that they leaned against, like in Peanuts. It's that inspiration went away pretty fast, but like very, very early on, including the fact that the first South Park thing was a Christmas special. There
Santa
was
versus Jesus.
Yeah, there was that inspiration.
That's true. That's interesting. That's a very, very, very good parallel to our content today.
I do want to shout out a viewer of the recast, the Antiquity Goth. They say, I like how they mentioned basketball in the South Park episode, The Passion of the Jew, where Stan says, we'll get our money back like we did with basketball, referencing the fact that the movie didn't fare very well. So I thought that was a funny reference.
And the funny thing about that, too, is that basketball makes references to South Park.
Does it?
Yeah.
Wasn't basketball before South Park?
Yeah, a couple times Trey does the voices of Garrison and Cartman.
Oh, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's almost kind of just an exaggerated form of his own voice, but...
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm
going to take it as an Easter egg, though.
So, Pie, what did you watch this past week?
Thank you, Monsters. That was very considerate of you.
Of course.
I've been watching more Animaniacs. I've just been. It's just the kind of show that you watch in the background. I've been really playing a lot of this game called Magic Arena, Magic the Gathering, the card game that's existed. Actually, also connected to South Park, and that South Park not only did an episode, but they plugged Magic back in the day. They also had Kenny insulting Magic, but no, like I've been really addicted to that lately. So I've been like, Animaniacs is a great show to watch in the background while I'm playing, and so I just kind of been slowly making my way through, and yeah, I'm still enjoying it. I don't really have anything in particular to say about it, but the I saw the first Minerva Mink short. It's weird. it's basically like half of the short is like woodland animals like oogling her, and like their significant other animals like hitting them in the head. Like that's basically the joke. And then the second half of it is that this nerdy wolf guy like starts hitting on her, and she doesn't like it. And then he's a werewolf, and he's like hot when he's a werewolf. And then she likes it. Like I don't know. It's weird. I don't think it's really like ban worthy.
Clearly a natural progression, though.
God.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It really wasn't like that risque. It was just kind of a little one note. I still haven't changed my mind also on the Chicken Boo segments. I still find them utterly boring. And then the Runt and Rita segments I was feeling a little more positive on, although I still don't understand, like, Bernadette Peters singing is always great. That's always fantastic. But then like the rest of the stuff with Run, I don't know. Why wouldn't you pair her with another singer and have them do duets? Like if that's the big positive of the short, why pair her with just like a stupid dog character and then they get into random musicals? I don't know.
Maybe it's because I'm like a late '90s kid that came out, and when Animaniacs was on, it was at the time Pinky and the Brain got its own spinoff. But I don't know. Maybe it's just my ADHD, but I always just found it better to focus on one show that focused on one segment. It's like with Pinky in the Brain, you just get Pinky in the Brain. I mean, I
Uh,
loved Animaniacs in general, but it was just like at least just focused on the Pinky in the Brain segments,
I mean,
which also had a good holiday special too.
I like the variety of Animaniacs. It doesn't always lead to, like, there are misses, but it's kind of cool watching a segment and, like, even in the beginning you aren't quite sure what kind of segment it would be. Like, usually it's Animaniacs if it's ambiguous, if it doesn't have like an intro. But like one of them, um the Animaniacs were in like Camelot and they were fighting a dragon, and then at the end of the segment it turns out that the dragon was piloted by Pinky and the Brain.
Hmm.
um like, I don't know, I love the interplay between that. But yeah, no, I'm still very positive on the Animaniacs shorts themselves and on Slappy's segments.
Mm. What do you guys think about that upcoming reboot?
We talked about that already.
Ah,
Sorry.
it's all good. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'm a blind optimist in general. I guess it speaks to my personality. Like, we still don't know what it looks like at this point. At least to my knowledge, I haven't seen any leaked images or anything. So at this point, I don't know until I see what it looks like, and then
Yeah,
just
no,
go from there.
it's gonna be interesting. But on that note, actually, let's transition into the news.
Bum
Um,
bum bum.
so we're gonna lead with the big one because and then just transition hopefully to a lighter note. But everyone knows that this happened in the past week. I can't imagine that you're a fan of animation and you didn't hear about this.
Yeah.
I actually found out about it from Reddit. Just, I was browsing Reddit randomly, but Steven Hillenburg, the creator of SpongeBob, has passed away. A few years ago, he announced that he had ALS.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, and that was basically, that was it. I mean, he's always been a very private figure in comparison to other celebrities. I mean, wouldn't even really consider him a celebrity. He's a celebrity only in that he made something famous, not that he lives the celebrity lifestyle or whatever. But
Yeah.
you know, he's been a private guy, so you know, this was this is tough. I mean,
Stephen Hillenburg wasn't really public, and he just focused on the content he created. And I mean, to me, it was also very inspiring how he pretty much started off as a marine biologist who decided to go into animation.
yeah, I mean, he was a true, like, he was about his work, and that's all he cared about in terms of publicly. He didn't care about the fame, uh, like, at all. I mean, and here's the thing is that I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna sit here and say that my life was like changed forever when Steven Hillenburg passed, or that I didn't cry either. Like, that's just not true, because I have no personal connection with the man other than his creation, which it's an odd feeling because I don't know anything, like Robin Williams. For example, I don't think I knew anything about the real person behind Robin Williams, but at least I felt like I knew a persona of Robin Williams, the person that he projected out into the world. But with Steven, he just he kept to himself very much, and so it's I feel sad that we don't have this great creative person in the world. um but I'm not going to sit here and try to, I don't know, I'm sure some people would want me to be really really really, I don't know, schmaltzy about it. It's sad and it sucks, but um I just, I don't know. I want to have a positive spin on, but there's no positive spin on it. It's sad. He died young, and it's just it's a confusing emotion when you know of someone's work very well, but you didn't even know a facet of their personality.
Right. It's unfortunate. He died pretty young. He left behind a kid and his wife. And from what I know, I mean, although I'm not too familiar with SpongeBob's production history, but I think it was after the first SpongeBob movie where he took a bit of a break in terms of like being the showrunner.
He wanted the show to
Um,
end. Nickelodeon didn't.
Yeah, and then but he came back somewhat recently, right?
He remained a consultant on the show. To what extent, no one knows. But he always was somewhat involved in something. But then recently, correct, for the ninth season, about 2 or 3 years ago now, he did come back into that executive, or was it executive producer? He came back into a producer
Executive
role.
producer. No, it's funny you mentioned that too, because from what I understand, he was always very hands-on with the show. And then after the movie, like we said, he pretty much needed to take a break. But then once he came back season 9, he took on he served on more as an executive producer. And from what I understand from like most of the people I follow on Twitter, they say that he still was involved even more so than what he needed to do. Like even with the comics, the SpongeBob comics, he would be involved with that process. I mean, to
Yeah.
me, I think that just speaks to him as an artist, and I think that's what fascinates me most about Stephen Hillenburg, the man, is that every time you hear about the man, you hear about the artist and what he's promoting. Not necessarily promoting, but just working. And to me, that's inspiring. You know, for the most part, whenever I'm trying to work on something creatively, I try to think about what pleases me, while also thinking about what pleases other, but ultimately what is good art if it doesn't mean anything to me. And when I think about Stephen Hillenburg, it seems like he was that type of person that did just focus on the art, and I just have mad respect for that. Not to say that not every artist is like that. It's just based on what people have said and just upon the creation of the show, where it's like he took something as personal as his personal passions like marine biology in a comic he made for other kids to educate them about sea creatures, you know, seems to speak volumes to where this came from. I don't know. I guess I took it pretty personal. And I mean, hearing about ALS, knowing ALS is a very serious condition. I knew back then when it was announced that he had it that this is going to be tough. Ultimately, you know, hearing about this on top of the fact that another one of my creative inspirations, Stan Lee, passed away too, just feels like a real personal burden for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he seemed like a really humble guy, and from what I know, he was pretty much working on the show up until the end. There was a cool video on Twitter that I saw of Tom Kenny personally thanking him. I think it was at the Daytime Emmys earlier this year, and he walked up on stage, and it was a really touching event. And Joe Murray posted a tribute article about him, and I think Roger Bumpus also said something about him. A lot of his colleagues, you know, responded to it in a very heartfelt way, and it's really hard to imagine the current world of animation or just pop culture in general without SpongeBob.
Correct. Also, there is certainly a discussion to be had about, um, you know, Nickelodeon's treatment of the show going forward, and the possible ramifications about who's going to produce the show. But at this time, I would prefer to maybe just kind of hold that conversation for another week.
Right.
If it's all the same with everyone else, you know,
That's
and
fine.
like there is definitely interesting implications here, and there is, you know, but for right now, you know, I want to respect.
Speaking of which, I do appreciate that Nickelodeon is doing a marathon this weekend of SpongeBob classics in honor of Steven Hillenburg. So I thought that was a nice thing that they did.
Yeah, even Cartoon Network tweeted about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it's regardless. I mean, I always say this, but it's just like regardless of any bad episode or bad season, or you know how I feel about wanting the show to end 10 years ago. It nothing will ever change the fact that a lot of those early episodes were just inspirational. I think is the correct word. I mean, I know that's like weird to say about like a comedy show, but I feel like SpongeBob's sense of humor shaped a lot of people's sense of humor, and a lot of people's the way they write, the way they interact, and a lot of things were shaped by SpongeBob. It's a cultural touchstone, and none of that would be possible without Hillenburg.
And it's
Hmm.
amazing too that it's not just one generation, but it speaks upon multiple generations. I work with children, not to get too much into like my personal work and whatnot, but I do work with children, and it fascinates me when I get to see the children who are quoting the same quotes that I know when I was their age, and then their parent also chiming in too. It's fascinating. It really is.
Yeah, I've often said that there's a certain cultural connection with SpongeBob that, you know, if you were to say like a quote from like a Foster's episode or something like at college, you know, you might get like the one guy in the corner that's like, yes, Foster's is my jam. But like if you say a SpongeBob quote, you know, if you say you know, the
Is
Wumbo
mayonnaise an
line,
instrument?
right, you know, even some of the more obscure ones like, oh no, he's hot, like people will get it, you know, so many people will get it, and there's not many shows like live action or otherwise that are that much of a phenomenon that you can just quote things, and regardless if a person is 5 years older than you, 5 years younger than you, whatever, you know, odds are if they watch TV, they'll get that reference, and then you'll have you'll
Yeah.
have a laugh and a conversation, and there's something very unifying about that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you know that it is what it is. You guys ready to move on?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to transition a little bit, you know, the recast, we have a knack of having like unintentionally great timing. Like that
Yep.
like that time we did something on like the week of Out of Jimmy's Heads, like, or Reanimated's like something anniversary.
Right.
Or what was it? The Star Warners episode, I think, aired like 10 years almost exactly from when it aired. I don't know. We have a knack for these things. But anyway, the Lion King we knew was being rebooted. I don't think we really even talked about it that much in the last episode. We probably should have, but we're gonna do it now. They released a trailer, the first trailer. And you know, Disney is like on a roll with making these trailers that make me kind of like movies that I was like, I don't think this needs to exist. And then I see the trailer and I'm like, all right, maybe this needs to exist. Because I was pretty impressed by the trailer.
It's interesting how the trailer came out, and I was totally blindsided with it coming out on Thanksgiving. The football game was on while we were all eating dinner, and then I hear, Samaya. Wait, hold the phone. And I go over to the TV, and I'm only catching the part where you see Simba roaring, and then I go on YouTube and I see they uploaded it, and then I get a chance to see the trailer. It wasn't, and I think it was the same thing with Aladdin. I don't know. Do they announce these things ahead of time, like
Oh yeah.
promoting them onto shows or whatnot? Because completely blindsided me that it even came on.
I mean, they announced that there's other ones coming too. I don't know. They were on a big kick of announcing these things. But yeah, what I find interesting is basically it's like a recreation of the first trailer for the first Lion King. Like it basically is.
And you know what? I'll be honest with you. Like when watching the trailer again, it was really cool to see all that. It was visually very nice, but at the end of the day, I was kind of annoyed. I was like, this is the same thing except with a new fur coat and different lighting. And
Well,
I was kind of irritated though that there were a lot of news sorts were saying that it's a live action remake, and
oh
my
goodness.
understanding that it isn't. It's all CG. Even the backgrounds, like in the Jungle Book, are all done digitally.
There could be
So
humans
why?
in the Lion King. You know,
Yeah.
maybe a dentist is gonna come and shoot Mufasa.
Oh.
No, imagine it's just Timon and Pumbaa are just like two guys in masks, just regular people.
It's
Like-
now instead of Billy Eichner, we're gonna find out it's Seth Rogen and James Franco.
Oh
in
goodness.
masks, and we're gonna find out it's their next stoner comedy.
That'll be the live action Lion King 1.5.
I can see that though. Yeah.
We just see the motion capture footage of the Lion King. That's the entire movie. Well, here's the thing. I very often fall on the side of the argument of just like, yeah, you're just remaking the same thing. Like, what's the point of this? And I also want to say that, like, I get really sick of people on the internet, like the viewpoint that they don't have the opposite viewpoint. They want to talk that opinion. They want to like erase that opinion. And like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm very open for discussion on this. But in this
As
instance,
it should be, you know. I think we often get, confused when the stronger opinion outweighs the open opinion. You know, it happens unfortunately a lot on the internet.
Yeah, it's very frustrating because it's like just because I feel like this remake has justification doesn't mean I don't understand the opposite argument, and doesn't mean I don't want that other argument to not exist. Like, it's okay. We can both feel, but like personally, and this came from watching The Lion King again last week. The Lion King was never about like story or anything like that. Like, honestly, like, it's Hamlet. Like, we know it. Everyone knows that.
And Kimba the White Lion. Let's not beat the elephant to the ground here. It's,
to the
it's
graveyard.
Kimba the White Lion. You know.
Right, but here's the thing. What makes The Lion King so great is it's the music. It's the great animation at the time. It's the atmosphere. It's the
Scale.
the set pieces. Yes, the
Scale
set pieces.
is like the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of Lion King, is that it's just a huge movie.
Yeah, but it's the beauty of it, I think.
Yeah.
And this trailer got me to see that again. Like you know, last week I was saying, like, you know, it looks, Lion King is still a pretty visually impressive movie for today. It might not be, you know, mind blowing, but it still looks really dang good. Doesn't have uncanny CG in it, at least. But like, you know, I watched this trailer and I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm okay with this, because imagining all of those classic scenes but done in this fascinating CG style, which is not to say that, like, I don't think CG is better than 2D, but there is certainly a beauty to it, and I'm okay with it in this instance.
I would say too, if there's one thing that can be improved with a reboot, and this is the couple of things I think about when it comes to remakes and reboots, is that if you're going to be remaking something, hopefully improve on things that weren't improved on in to begin with. And the one thing that I was impressed by with this new remake is its cast. The Donald Glover is playing Simba. We joked about Seth Rogen playing Pumbaa, but let's be real, the guy is Pumbaa. I mean, James Oliver is what is it? John Oliver.
John
playing,
Oliver. He's gonna be
Zazu,
Zazu, right? Yeah.
I mean, he was born. he already looks like Zazu, so it works out. And
Yeah.
on top of the fact that, you know, the hyenas, Eric Andre is gonna be playing one of the hyenas.
Ooh.
Like,
yeah,
it's
the cast.
Be interesting.
It's exciting, and the one guy that's gonna be playing the same character, James Earl Jones. Yes.
James Earl Jones.
Earl Jones. And that's a good point too. That's the other thing when watching it, is that like, I wish there were there's a few elements that I wish were more fleshed out in The Lion King. Like for one, like, actually seeing Mufasa, or not Mufasa, Scar be king. We don't really, we just kind of like cut to him and everything's miserable. Like, I'd like to see like at least one scene of, like, you know, him being a ruler. Similarly, I'd like to have maybe seen a little more of Simba, like, actually growing up. I mean, aside from what we see in The Lion King 1.5.
Yeah.
Because it's basically just like traumatic childhood event, and then immediately after, gonna go hang out with these two guys that believe in no worries. Like that, those scenes happen so close together. And time passes, but we don't see it. So it just feels a little abrupt. And I feel like there's just, maybe you add 10 more minutes to the movie. And
it would totally help too. And to add to your point as well, is that that's one of the biggest criticisms in the film, is that as soon as Simba comes back to the Pride, reminded that he supposedly killed Mufasa, everybody backs out on him. Nobody wants to be with him. And it's like, what the heck? Really? Like, you're just gonna just assume one guy said this thing and just completely give up hope on this guy, and then, like, 1 minute, no, you were lying to me. Like, I agree. If they had more time to flesh that out, maybe show a little bit more character from the other lions, you know, it wouldn't be as jarring.
Right, other lion characters would be cool too. I mean,
yeah,
Nala doesn't actually get to do all that much in The Lion King. She's there, but she feels the love tonight, and she gets Simba to come back
with her potential cousin. As someone on the internet discovered, that lions interbreeding with other lions, two males that are in the same family. It's weird.
Two males, one family. You know, Monsters has been very quiet about all this, which means that either you are staunchly against this, or you have, like, no opinion whatsoever.
I am staunchly against this.
Here we go.
Right, we got debate time, guys.
I can read you pretty well.
Fight it out.
So, yes, I'm leaving open the possibility that it's good, right? But
Mhm.
it is a cash grab,
Oh
and
yes. Oh,
it is most
100.
certainly rehash.
100%. I agree in both of those aspects. Like, let's. I don't. I want to say this very carefully, but considering how much of a success Black Panther was, um, marketing people gonna be marketing people. So
On
another
top of
film.
the fact, too, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
on top of the fact, too, of it being a cash grab, let's ask ourselves, how many times has The Lion King been, has Disney resurfaced Lion King through
Mm,
sequels, spin-offs,
3D re-releases.
merchandising? This was bound to happen. This is their
Broadway.
biggest moneymaker. Yep, Broadway. So we could literally make a top 5 list of other things other than The Lion King that were made to cash off The Lion King.
Mhm.
So I agree with you. It's a cash grab. So at least it's like a matter of how are we going to make this relevant.
It's a matter of pride. No, I.
Oh,
Oh my God, Scar's song is just
Unmaster, that's
Scar.
good.
Scar's song is just so full of puns. Um, but yeah, and just again, just to be completely clear, so no one gets the wrong impression, I'm just saying that it's like Black Panther was an African centric movie, and so was The Lion King, and you know,
Well, not to mention too that the majority of the cast of this new Lion King is African American.
correct, which is something that the original movie had in only I think Rafiki and Mufasa. So I mean it, and which is as it should be. Well, not. Never mind. I'm bad at talking about topics like this because I feel like I put my foot in my mouth. Not as it should be, as in like it's great to see African actors representing a movie that's about Africa.
Right.
Not great
as opposed
in,
to being appropriated.
Right. Well, but yeah, no, I mean, so let's be real. Like, it was, it's like Disney's like second highest, most grossing film ever. Plus the fact that Black Panther was a success. Plus the fact that their other live action, quote unquote live action, remakes have done financially pretty well for them. This was just inevitable, and it is a rehash. And I'm not trying to argue that the movie is going to be fantastic. I'm just sold on if they can capture the beauty aspect, then at least that's something. And
I also staunchly agree with or disagree with that.
Okay.
Because like it's technically impressive, right? It's realistic. But
Of course.
in terms of creativity, it just feels like it lacks character. When you watch the
Well,
original
hang on.
Circle
It
of
was
Life,
but it's one trailer, but continue.
well, it's almost shot for shot. I mean, I'm assuming that most of the same shots that are in this trailer are going to be in the final cut of the film.
Well,
When
yeah,
you
I'm not
see
saying
the
they're not.
original Circle of Life, you see these beautiful oranges and yellows and reds, but I just feel like it's a lot of gray and brown, and it's so desaturated, and it's just I feel like it lacks the character that the original had.
I'm so glad you brought that up too, because it really was disappointing seeing the sun in the trailer just look like a regular sun.
Yeah, it's CGI. They can do anything.
Yeah, it just looks like a regular sun.
You want a blue sun? Like, what do you want though?
I want the
want it to be
moon
more
and Timon and Pumbaa walking along that log.
Oh goodness.
Big giant moon that would cause like 100-foot tides in real life, but in
It's just-
animation it could be made.
You bring fair points. You bring a fair point, Monsters.
Just because it's realistic, I don't think means that it automatically looks better. And I mean, I think that this is a detriment too, but just yeah, it looks realistic and they look like real lions, but just wait until they're singing "Just Can't Wait to Be King."
Well, hang on. So that's an unknown at this point because the trailer was serious. It was a serious trailer, and
Right.
Timon and Pumbaa aren't in it. I just can't wait to be king. Which, by the way, if this movie follows in The Lion King, the original, that song has an art shift. So who's to say that this one won't as well?
Right, but I'm just like imagine those realistic lions trying to sing like these poppy tunes.
Or move like in dancing motions. Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I'll reserve judgment on that.
Because I mean, it comes to the question of like the reason why this movie came out. Partly is also because of the success of the Jungle Book. where it was like as soon as the movie came out, people were like, even before it was announced that they would do a Lion King, it's like, oh, imagine if they could use this technology for the Lion King. And here it is. And even though the Jungle Book worked, kind of like, I don't know what you guys felt about Jungle Book.
I didn't see it.
Neither did I.
It's interesting because it's a remake doing its own thing, but not necessarily a remake of the book, perfect remake, but it's also a remake of the cartoon. It's confusing, but it's like, how are we going to take these animated characters and make them believable, but also realistic? And I'm kind of with you, Monsters, where it's about believability for me as opposed to just making it realistic because I can make it realistic, you know. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And it's like, is it going to make an impact? And it kind of made that point. I think that's probably what a lot of people are expecting with this new remake, is that it can kind of work. But at the end of the day, it's like we already have the Lion King, so
right. It's if it's not broken, don't fix it. And
Well,
it's not that aged either.
Well,
yeah, it hasn't. I mean, they released it a couple years ago in 3D, and people still ate it up.
It's just what does this have to offer?
beautiful CG.
I mean, it's like I said, it's realistic, but I don't know if it's beautiful.
A phenomenal voice cast.
I guess
An opportunity to improve. Which, I mean,
an opportunity, yes.
Yeah, no, and I'm not. This is all hypothetical. I'm not like sitting here like I'm with you in that it could just be a by the books, really boring, hyper realistic looking thing, that it just doesn't do anything. But I mean, I guess it's also tough to see it because it's like I don't see it as, I don't look at it as a new movie. I look at it, here's another way to enjoy the same thing. That if your kid was gonna watch The Lion King for the 8 millionth time, maybe you might as well put on a slightly different version of it that isn't 1.5.
I guess, but I feel like also from what I know of the Jungle Book live action, I'm sorry, CG, that's supposed to look like live action movie.
Yeah.
It is not as bouncy as the original Disney animated movie. It takes on a bit more serious tone. So I feel like maybe that's what they'll do, just to kind of blend with the hyper-realistic tone, maybe just not have it be as bouncy. I'm not sure.
But that's the thing, because that's why it was so hard for me to describe, is that it kind of was. Like, no joke, they did have a King Louis musical number that tried to capture the same joy of it, but all the awkwardness of Christopher Walken playing King Louis. I swear to you guys, like, I am probably one of the biggest Walken fans out there. And when I was watching the movie, there was the scene where he clicks the cowbell, Louis appears, and he asks Mowgli, "So have you been to the south side? I'm mostly hanging around the north side, but I'm always coming to the south." I lost it in the theater.
There's a cowbell reference in the Jungle Book?
There's a cowbell reference in the Jungle Book. And then Christopher Walken, I swear to you, the man wasn't given a script. He was given a role, and he played the role the way he imagined it. And they filmed around it. Because there's no musical numbers in it, and yet he does the musical number. It's amazing.
Interesting.
It's interesting, but to me, it's amazing because I love the Christopher Walken thing I see.
I guess to me, it's just, I do see possibility. When I saw the trailer, I see possibility in this to tell a different version of The Lion King, or at least to just be another version of a movie that I care about and love.
But gosh darn it, maybe we will get a cameo from Christopher Walken as King Louis in this movie. For no reason.
Yeah. I'm cynical, but I mean, who knows? Maybe it will be good.
I understand you, Monsters. I feel you. And again, I haven't seen any of the other Disney ones, so like I don't know what their MO is. I mean, I feel like maybe they'd be too scared to change anything, and it's just going to be literally the same movie. I mean, for all we know, like legitimately, this trailer could not be in the movie. It could just be, let's play on nostalgia and recreate the trailer from the original one, but we're going to go a different, we're going to use alternate scenes and takes. this could have been from like I don't know. Who knows?
I mean, those shots take a long time to render.
You're saying that like there's not like deleted scenes from what like Toy Story 3
Well, yeah,
and
but
like
I mean, it's the circle of life. If like I
well
wouldn't,
it works
like,
as a
if they're going to
promotion.
show off the movie in a trailer, they're probably going to show the best of what they have to offer.
That's not true. That's not necessarily true at all. If they were playing on nostalgia specifically, if they were like, let's get people hype about The Lion King, they were hype about the first trailer, they're going to see all of these things and they're going to recognize it and like it, but we're still going to go a different way.
I mean, I don't see why they would completely remake the Circle of Life.
But it's
For
also
promotional
a possibility
reasons.
too. It is also a possibility too that they shot most of the beginning of the, and that's what they have already, and most of what they're working on, like on a linear timeline, is still in post production. And this is probably the only completed shots that they have, given that the Circle of Life is the opening scene to the movie. It makes sense to have the Circle of Life advertise the movie.
This could have been a screen test. Like this could have been literally like the proof of concept.
That's true.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to go deep into this argument because like I'm probably wrong, but
I just feel like maybe the movie's not done yet, and what they had partially complete is what we have in the trailer, because that's normally what happens. Even with the Aladdin trailer, we didn't get to see a lot. We didn't see the genie. We only saw up to the point where Aladdin finds the Cave of Wonders and barely any people.
I didn't even know there was a trailer for Aladdin.
There is. You should definitely check it out. It's interesting. We've been saying interesting. We should have like a counter for like every time we've pointed out something being interesting, but it's definitely interesting.
Well, I'm definitely interested in this Lion King movie, so I'll be following the news on it. So we'll definitely be talking about as that develops in later recasts as well. But we definitely need to move on at this point. We're gonna just breeze over the next news article pretty quickly. There was a Deadline article where the Viacom CEO, Viacom being the parent company of Nickelodeon, Paramount, other entities, basically saying that there was some softness at Nickelodeon and that they're working on it, which is a very like weak businessy way to just say he realizes that there's been kind of some failures at Nickelodeon, which is pretty big for a CEO to admit, even in the lightest of ways, to say that, hey, our network hasn't been doing the best. That's pretty big. That's pretty means something.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really any like real information in the article other than just that he's saying that they put a lot of faith in the new president and they think he's going to do a good job.
Yep, you got my job. Take it from here. I'm done.
But yeah, I just wanted to mention it. Someone recommended on the Discord, and I wanted to mention it because it is interesting. It does mean something. I mean, it's I talked about the Simon stuff a while back, but just like it's kind of bizarre to see, when you have all these like ideas and theories about like, oh, the network's not doing well, and other people are like, oh, you're just nostalgia blind, or oh, you're just growing up and all this other stuff, and it's like it turns out, well, actually no, behind the scenes things were pretty bad, and the company is not being run in the proper way. Like, you were not wrong. Certainly nostalgia and all that stuff does play into growing up and everything, but there were and still are some very relatively objective criticisms about Nickelodeon, and it's good to hear that they're at least trying on it and not just giving up on it. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then the last thing, Monsters, you had something.
Yeah, so it was recently announced that Cowboy Bebop, it's a fairly popular anime. It was really popular on Adult Swim in the early 2000s. It's being remade into a 10-episode live-action series on Netflix, kind of coming off the heels of them announcing that Avatar is getting a live-action series adaptation.
Now, Monsters, how do you feel about this one? Got ya. No, just kidding. I mean, different situations entirely.
Yeah, kind of in the same respect as like Lion King is considered one of the better animated films of all time. Cowboy Bebop is considered one of the best animes of all time. So it's going to be tough for them. I mean, I hate it because I feel like I'm almost making it a competition, but there's kind of no choice to make correlations when you're doing the same thing over again. Between the two.
Yeah, I heard about it too, and for some reason, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Photoshop of someone taking Keanu Reeves and Spike and putting them together, making me realize that there's no better Seagull than Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting though because Keanu Reeves is. I mean, I love Keanu Reeves. I love John Wick, but he's also like in his late 50s.
True that. They'll CG that. If they can make Christopher Walken a giant. I'm still hung up on King Louis, Christopher Walken. I apologize, but
But yeah, I'm looking forward to see how this develops.
yeah, I am too. It's interesting.
I love Cowboy Bebop. And by
I
that I
love
mean
jazz music.
I've never seen it.
Wow.
You're
All
missing
right.
out, my man. You gotta catch up. It's a great jazzy show. A lot of sci-fi, a lot of action. It's cool.
Okay, so maybe someday. No, I actually just canceled my Crunchyroll subscription because I realized they've been billing me for like 4 months. So
Well, I think it is on Hulu.
It is on Hulu.
I just wanted to mention that to feel like I had something to add. That I got scammed into the stupid free trial and didn't unsubscribe and didn't even realize it. Anyway,
I hate that.
yeah. So on to our question of the week from Khalid1234. What do you think of live action sitcoms today? Because I feel like when any sitcom with a laugh track comes out, people automatically hate it, like with Disney or Nickelodeon shows, etc. I'll give my answer just right away. I've really just personally, I'm just not interested in sitcoms with a laugh track. Some older sitcoms, like I don't, the style doesn't gel with me. There are particularly great ones like Seinfeld that I do love, but in general, I know I don't like that style, and I would not. At this point, I'm not going to call shows or things that I haven't seen bad, but I am going to say that it's not a style that I'm particularly interested in checking out, and it's not one that I hold up to any particular high merit, aside from Seinfeld. So, and Married with Children.
So the question focuses on live action sitcoms that focus on laugh tracks, or just live action sitcoms in general.
3 camera sitcoms, the kind of stuff that Nickelodeon and Disney Channel put out.
Okay, because the first thing that comes to my mind is I kind of like look at sitcoms in the grand scheme of things. It's funny. I needed those extra credits in my undergrad, and I took a college course on on the history of sitcoms. Fun class, and it makes me realize that the three camera sitcom really has evolved beyond that with HBO and gone beyond, and to certain degrees, I think like a show like Always Sunny is a great evolution
Mhm.
of the modern sitcom.
But
And
it's not a
even
3 camera sitcom; it's a one
it
camera
isn't.
sitcom. And
It is a yeah.
I guess let me explain that to people who might think that I just wrote off like a lot of really great shows, like Scrubs. There's 3 camera sitcoms, and then there's like 1 camera sitcom, or 3 or 4 cameras. But the gist is, one of them is shot on a soundstage, like with a backdrop. It's acted out kind of like a play. Sometimes they have live studio audiences, very very rarely these days. But basically, the camera angles are limited to just like a few different angles. It's not ambitious in like its cinematography at all, because it can't be. It's shot on a soundstage. Whereas 1 camera sitcoms are the kind of things that you'll see shot out anywhere. They can be shot on a soundstage, but because it's like 1 camera, or usually they don't literally have 1 camera, but they move the camera around. Things are shot more cinematically, more like a movie, and there's a lot more writing freedom when you could take characters like outside more often, and to various real life locales, instead of just here's backdrop that's painted like this today.
Or that movie theater from Drake and Josh,
The premiere.
the
Classic.
premiere. um, yeah, I guess the last one I keep thinking about would be How I Met Your Mother as being the last good 3 camera sitcom.
I watched that show, but I hate that show. But I watched that show.
Dang it! Dang it! I almost had you there.
No, I mean the first few seasons were all right, but it's weird. But no, but yeah, that's just I do think it's crummy in general for people to act like they've seen a show when they haven't seen a show. However, I will say when it comes to three camera sitcoms, they do tend to be very, very, very much like beholden to their style and very samey. So I understand how some people can kind of get into the mindset of just like, well, I've seen one Disney Channel sitcom, I've seen them all. But also I feel like, to the point of the question, that you know what, I haven't seen one of those Nickelodeon or Disney Channel sitcoms in years. Like, you know, I think of Dog with a Blog. Like, I think of the absolute worst of the worst examples of that. I think of Game Shakers. I don't think of I hear Andy Mack. Andy Mack
Yeah.
might be a one camera sitcom, but
Wow.
what?
Now that
No,
brought me back.
well, no, I just, but I, you know, I hear some rumblings and stuff, and it's just, again, it's not a style that fits me. But yeah, no, I think that's kind of why those sitcoms get stereotyped, is because they are very stylistically similar, especially when you're coming out of Disney Channel or Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Horatio?
Yeah, kind of treading off of what I was doing earlier, I do think it, for me at least, I don't think it's as much automatic hate as it is just kind of going into it expecting the worst. Kind of to bounce off of what Pieguy was saying, sitcoms are especially some of the most formulaic programming out there. And yeah, really like the last children's sitcom that I watched somewhat regularly was Good Luck Charlie. Other than that, like, I've seen glimpses of like what Haunted Hathaway, Thundermans, and that sort of stuff, and it hasn't caught my interest. And yeah, there's been, you know, with Nickelodeon, there's Game Shakers, which in itself, the concept is almost like iCarly, where it's like two girls that are like, that find success in some form of new trendy tech medium. and you know, Disney did Girl Meets World and Raven Comes Home.
No, it's Raven's Home, not Raven.
Raven's Home. Oh, whatever.
That sounds like she's like Lassie or something. Come on, Raven, come home.
Come home, please.
Yeah, I mean, in sitcoms, just in general, you see the same ideas reused over and over and over again. Especially in children's sitcoms, and that's not to say, you know, I have liked some in the past. Especially, I love Drake and Josh, but like, I don't know, I'm not interested in them as much anymore.
I think that's the other thing too, is that, like, here's the thing, those kind of sitcoms have their place in the world. Most people like those kind of sitcoms because most people aren't weirdos like us who obsess over TV shows.
Right.
And I mean that comment with love.
That's Mr. Weirdo who comments on TV with love.
No, but
you.
But like, you know, your average person who just gets home from work and wants to watch something, those sitcoms aren't as bad if you haven't seen that much of them. You know, if you see one episode a night as opposed to trying to binge watch How I Met Your Mother to get to the incredibly awful finale.
Man, that show must have taken a lot out of you.
Listen, you have no idea. But like, you know, so I think they have their place in the world. They're not particularly regarded as high art, and it is a very much like, you've seen one, you feel like you've seen all of them. Again, it with the exception of like Seinfeld.
You never know. There's probably gonna be one show in the future to break that mold, or kind of like have an appreciation for the love of sitcoms and probably elevate it to something else. But we probably won't know.
Yeah.
But it's always a possibility of happenings. Who knows?
I mean, like, I loved sitcoms when I was a kid. I did. I wanted to be on a sitcom.
I feel like you could tolerate that, like, kind of like the same episode ideas over and over and over again when you were a kid more than you can as an adult. You kind of probably catch on to it and get irritated by it more.
Yeah.
But I Love Lucy still holds up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the classics are, I mean, probably not by today's standards, but from a historical context, the classics are still good. And that's not to say that like sitcoms can't have good jokes. It's just, generally speaking, if you want ambitious, you typically want a one camera sitcom. If you want a sitcom, that's just kind of generally how it is. But anyway, that was, I thought that was a good question. So moving along, next week we have Mickey's Christmas Carol and Bah Humduck, which, by the way, Bah Humduck is on Hulu. So check that out. They're two Warner Brothers and Disney's take on A Christmas Carol. Should be pretty interesting. We have a pretty awesome guest booked for next week. And then 2 weeks from now, we have a mystery.
Ooh.
And I don't mean a Scooby Gang mystery. I mean a mystery that we're on the fence between like two different options of what we're going to talk about. And I need something that's supposed to air after we're talking about this podcast right now. I need to be able to see that to know if it's a rehash. Anyway, we've got something planned, but we don't want to announce it yet and you know, have to go back on that later. So in 2 weeks from now, it's a mystery. Welcome to the world of tomorrow. Which may or may not be a clue. Anyway, we watched some Peanuts this week. We spent a lot of time talking about Lion King. I feel like we're back in the Lion King recast. Yeah. You want to talk about like Lion King 2 and then Lion Guard or something? Oh goodness. All right, so I'm not sure many people have seen this special, so Monsters, would you mind giving the description of A Charlie Brown Christmas?
Yeah, it's fairly obscure.
Yeah. A young balding boy has depression.
Pretty much, yeah. Charlie Brown is depressed because of commercialism and not feeling like he's a part of the Christmas spirit. So he basically interacts with all the different kids and you know, feels isolated, feels left out, and tries to find the true meaning of Christmas.
Not to mention that he does that through seeking psychiatric help from one of his friends who tells him to direct a play. And every time he directs the play, it's just them reusing the same animation to that catchy theme song and doing that funny dance over and over and over.
Yeah.
I love hearing it in commercials, but you know, it's interesting how much it's like, all right, action, and then you're just playing the same animation again. It's like, oh.
So let's get a general read about this. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. How Joey, in general, how do you feel about this special?
So I revisited Charlie Brown Christmas recently, and I know growing up it was never really the household name for me, as much as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and dare I say it, I love the Pinky and the Brain Christmas special. I watch that almost every year. But there's always something about the Charlie Brown Christmas special that I like because it's interesting how Monsters mentioned how it's commenting on the commercialism in the 1960s and reading about its production. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This is the first Peanuts animated project, the first holiday special. So with that, there was a lot of we didn't get all the things that we know about Peanuts later that we got from this special.
It was also sponsored and funded by Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Before they went ahead and sponsored Columbia Pictures and Jack and Jill and the Adam Sandler comedies.
Well, yeah, a little known fact about there's quote unquote deleted scenes because both of them have Coke ads. Like in the beginning when they're throwing rocks at the can, there's actually they throw a rock at a Coke bottle, and then at the very end, the reason why it cuts them off when they're humming "Hark the Herald Angels Sing" is because like the original broadcast had like this has been a presentation by Coca-Cola Company. Like they dubbed, you know, they had to get rid of it. But it's ironic that this anti-commercialism special is, you know, not just sponsored by commercials in the usual way, but very directly sponsored specifically in program by Coke.
Mm-hmm.
I will say too, like to continue to the idea of this being a commentary on anti-commercialism, but it really was like the first short to make me appreciate Charlie Brown as a character, because we talk about the down of his luck character that will always try, no matter not getting what he wants, despite trying as much as he wants to eventually kick that football or catch that, get a good fly on his kite. You know, it's really the first short to illustrate that. And
despite having neither of those things.
Yeah, no, you're right. Despite not having the fall or the kite, but it the first one to illustrate that. You know, it's interesting because the expectation of Charlie Brown is so much different than than actually watching it. Because one thing that always stick out to me, even as a kid, and even now, is him getting the tree and all the kids just really ripping into him, and even Snoopy laughing at him. And it was just like it was so mean, but that's also so honest. They're not bullying, but they're acting like children. There's just something so universal about that. Granted, a lot of people can see that and feel about it just being flat out mean spirited, but kids
Well,
do
I think
see things on a superficial level at times.
it being mean spirited and it being realistic are not exclusive things. They're not mutually
No,
exclusive. They can.
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
but how do you? Okay, so but how do you feel about the special in general? Do you
In
like this?
general,
If you
I do.
take away the historical context, take away, say this is a special, not holding it by today's animation standard or anything, but just say you've never seen this special before. You watched it today. You don't feel the pressure of 6-7 decades of people telling that this is a Christmas classic. Just how do you feel about it?
I would say I like it in the same way that I like Robin Hood, the Disney's Robin Hood.
Hmm.
It's not their best film, but there's a story to it, and there's a charm to it that does bring me back to it. It's that darn little Christmas tree, with the little limpy branch being brought up and turned into a nice little tree. And dare I say it, I mean, I'm not I'm not too religious, but there is something very nice about going from Linus saying a quote from the Bible, and then Charlie Brown wanting to make a difference or feeling inspired to wanting to do something good after hearing something like that did hit me in the feels. And I think that does, I guess, speaks to me on a personal level. So yeah, I'd say I don't mind watching it again, regardless of history or context or knowing what these darn little peanuts are.
Monsters, same question.
Yeah, it's no surprise to me why this is so iconic. I know I said earlier in the recast that I wasn't feeling too Christmassy, but the special just has some sort of magic that puts me in that mood. Maybe it's the memorable music, like the Christmastime is Here song, the doon 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 doon, and just the snow, the overall tone of the special. It puts me in that Christmas mood. And there's just so many quirks that I love about this special. Snoopy has so much character, from just mocking Lucy to reading the newspaper and eating his bones, ignoring Charlie Brown. I love one of my favorite little animation tidbits is when they're walking from the side and their mouths disappear. I don't know why that stood out to me, but I love it. My favorite parts overall are just when Charlie and Linus are isolated, just kind of exploring around the area and looking at Christmas trees and walking around, having meaningful conversations to the music. But my overall favorite scene is where Lucy and Schroeder are talking, and he's playing Beethoven, and and then Snoopy comes up and starts dancing to it, and then the music stops, and then he just walks away embarrassed, and then she keeps asking him if it's Jingle Bells, and he gets so frustrated. I thought that was super funny.
I love how it's just like he's trying to go for just simplifying it to just dun dun dun. She's like, there, that's it. I love that bit too.
Yeah. In terms of criticisms, there obviously, it was in the 1960s. There's some imperfections in the animation and transitions between shots, and some of the child acting isn't the best. Also, I do feel like it suffers a bit from kind of. I mean, I don't want to be too critical here, but I feel like in terms of the dialogue, I feel like a lot of it's just Charlie voicing his thoughts in a very unrealistic way. He's like, why am I so depressed? And I don't know if any actual person would talk like that.
You've obviously never been to Reddit.
I mean, yeah, I guess you gotta understand too, it being written by Charles Schultz, an adult looking back at childhood, and I think that was always the charm of Peanuts, is that it's a reflection of childhood. as opposed to being a direct thing of childhood.
Right, and I feel, and although I do point those out as almost kind of objective criticisms, I feel like some of those quirks add some form of charm to it that makes it unique, that makes it feel special.
Speaking of quirks, the fact that the Christmastime song is used in the Royal Tenenbaums is only adds to the quirkiness of this holiday special.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
well,
what
I'll
do you
buck.
think, Pi?
Yeah, I'll buck the trend then. Like I see aspects of this that I like. I do agree that this is a special that deserves to be like, continuously aired and continuously coming up. Like I don't know of any other holiday special that would have a kid character just openly admit to his depression, which is very like progressive for the 60s. Like to admit that, like, not that they go into like the psychological aspect of it, but that Charlie Brown is experiencing not just depression. Like it'd be one thing if the kids bullied him and then he was depressed, but he starts out like with seasonal depression. Like that's literally how this starts, and I very much like think that that's an interesting angle and applaud it. And yeah, certain iconic things like the Charlie Brown Christmas tree and Christmas time, like I understand why it's an icon 100%, but I do feel like this is a special that the first third of it I really enjoy. I do love Linus and Charlie just kind of wandering around. I love them skating on the pond. I love Lucy as a psychiatrist. Like that's so, there's some actual good advice mixed in with her like weird isms. Like she had says that like basically she says admitting you have a problem means that you're not so far gone. Which is that's good advice. The fact that you did that is a good first step.
She's also not a complete jerk in this. Like she actually seems somewhat interested in trying to help Charlie Brown.
I was actually just gonna say that too, where it was like, this is the first time I've seen Lucy where the whole time I'm watching the special again, and me thinking about her, there's always got to be she wants him to direct his play. Like, what is she trying to humiliate him? Like, is this her trying to pull a prank on him or prove something? But it kind of isn't.
I mean, it's basically the football situation because she sets him up and then she does nothing but deride him later. But no, it does seem like she genuinely tries to. But no, I love that. I love her saying that she wants real estate for Christmas. That's a funny punchline. Like 60 years later, still a funny punchline. I like that stuff.
Got a lot in common.
The middle of it with the play, I found like stuff with Schroeder and Lucy, like that's memorable and great. Snoopy emulating the barn animals and mocking Lucy is also great. But a lot of the stuff where it's like Charlie says something and then we cut back to the same shot of the kids dancing, and then Charlie says something and then we shot. It's just that play section goes on for a long time and doesn't push anything forward. And then the third act I have significant problems with.
We do get to see the little redhead girl do the floss.
Okay. Those are words.
Those little cute little dance moves. All 4 repeating frames of them.
Yeah. So like I don't think the ending holds up in any way. I understand the message, like the message in general about not being so consumeristic in Christmas is fine, but this weird like Charlie like mocks the fact that Snoopy won a contest, which like, yeah, Snoopy wanted the money, but like he put hard work into decorating his doghouse. What's wrong with that, Charlie Brown? What's wrong with that, Schultz? Like they seem to deride. No, but seriously, and then Charlie takes one of his decorations and puts it on his tree. So okay, it's okay if Snoopy does that, but if it's not okay if Snoopy does it, but if Charlie does it, then that's fine. And then like I also don't really
your darn money, Charlie Brown.
I don't really understand the correlation between Linus's speech and then Charlie being inspired. I mean, not that I don't understand it. I understand the correlation, but they don't really sell the point that he was like moved by religion. Like he just kind of is like, I'm in a better mood now. Like, it's not like, I've realized that this is what the holiday's about, or I've seen the light of God or something. Like, he doesn't say anything about it. He's just kind of like, well, I'm back in the holiday spirit. And it's like, oh, okay. Um, and then the kids change their mind about Charlie's tree for no reason, none
Yeah.
whatsoever. And then, hang on, and then they decorate the tree in a magical way to make it a better tree. They don't see the beauty that Charlie saw in that wimpy tree. They instead change it to become this commercialized tree with all these decorations, and Charlie is okay with that, and everyone's happy. I'm sorry, but that's not
Hmm.
that's really mixing your messages there, because it's not, if the kids saw beauty in the tree as it was, maybe put a few minor decorations on it, that'd be one thing, but to make it out to be this beautiful Christmas tree in the end, it just kind of completely goes against the metaphor and the beauty of this wimpy tree being picked by
I
Charlie.
disagree. I
Hmm?
Hmm.
disagree with you because I actually thought by using the same tree did transform it. This little thing getting transformed is an illustration of that metaphor, with the beauty of animation. To me, that's how I always interpreted it as. It's still that same tree. Take the decorations off, and it's still the wimpy tree. But they still
Is it
found.
though?
I
They,
do
they
think so.
they
I mean,
magically put the tree back in the tree.
yeah. I mean, as a kid, I believed it. I mean, that's where we get to like the whole, it's just that's the way I see it. But yeah, that's just how I viewed it, as the being the same tree being made to look better is just a nice metaphor to finding something beautiful within and just having faith in it and putting it up by its bootstraps and making it look good. I don't know. That's just me.
I agree with Pi here. I think Pi makes a good point. I did think about that. Like, why is it that they just out of nowhere changed their mind? And then I think that that bare tree with the pine needles falling off of it was kind of like good imagery, and then they kind of completely changed that at the end, and it means something completely different.
And it would also be one thing if it was they took care of this tree for a month and then they grew it to be, I mean, I know you couldn't do this in this story, but if they naturally restored it, I feel like that would be one thing. But basically putting a bunch of tinsel on it and all of these commercialized products, it's just, I don't know. I respect that you see it differently, but yeah, I can't agree. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really see that much tinsel out of it. I just saw the ornaments and
oh, oh,
making it look nicer. I mean, I also too think that it's important to know that this is a 20-minute short. How much of the story are we going to convey in a 20-minute short? How much
uh,
are we going to show of Charlie Brown being inspired uh, after hearing Linus's speech? Like, how much do we show an extra shot of Charlie Brown looking up in realization? I did see like an interesting article after watching this short that made me think about how the Charlie Brown Christmas is sort of like a Christmas pageant that does go wrong. You see the effort that's put into it, but ultimately it's made by people, not made by people that had faith in it, but may not have all the resources to pull it off. And I think part of that does add to its charm. And I think ultimately too, it does set the groundwork for better Charlie Brown shorts to come out.
oh, absolutely. And I mean, I'm judging it as just a piece of media, ignoring a,
Ignoring the
a
past, yeah, okay.
which I don't think there's, I mean, there's nothing wrong with judging it with the past context in mind. I just see everyone doing that all the time, and it's just it's it's fun to look critically at something that honestly doesn't really get that much critical thinking put in. It's the holiday special that people put on and they watch it,
Yeah,
and
why do
next
it
year they put it
blindly?
on.
Why let's try to think about it a bit. I see what you mean, yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I mean, in general, like I just the atmosphere and the tone, and for something that was produced on a pretty small budget in the 60s, and I know this was remastered to an extent. I don't know to what extent they cleaned up, but it still looks dang good, to the point where we'll talk about, but it doesn't really look all that different from the special aired 30 years later.
Yeah.
It does. It
Like
really doesn't.
there were certainly improvements we could talk about, but just when you line them up next to each other, it doesn't look like 30 years have passed. They look consistent with each other, which I think is great, and I think that shows how good Schultz's original character design is. That you can still use it two different, completely different eras, and it makes sense, and they look consistent with each other.
Right.
My biggest, aside from kind of like the story issues, and I do still think that it gets its messages across kind of better in the first third, with Charlie talking about commercialism, and you see Sally asking for straight up money, and like, okay, I understand the pushback there, but I don't understand it so much with like Snoopy's Doghouse. But my biggest fault in like the actual production, it's the audio. Actually, like, the visuals hold up, but the microphone quality is awful. The music, it's just always looping. Like, it's always like they start and stop Christmastime so many times. And
I do think the dissolves could have been a bit more clean.
Yeah, and it feels like there's sound effects missing. And again, this is an old production. Like, I understand why it is the way it is. I'm just pointing out, if there are faults, like the microphone thing kind of got me. Like, the child acting is one thing, and that is bad child acting is kind of in this, but the microphones are, I don't know, they got like a weird echo going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Probably like an additional feedback.
Yeah, or maybe they couldn't get the kids too close to the mic. Like, they were just happy to get the kids to say the lines in the vicinity of the microphone.
You're supposed to stand on the soapbox so you can reach the microphone, Jimmy.
All right, so yeah, let's move on to It's Christmas Time Again, Charlie Brown. All right, listen, when you hear that title, what do you think? I think, okay, so they're just gonna rehash. They're gonna,
What I love about these titles is I always imagine Lucy telling Charlie Brown, "It's Thanksgiving, blockhead," or "It's the Great Pumpkin, blockhead," as opposed to just Charlie Brown.
Yeah, the titles they're very like aggressive in the statement. It's not just like it's Christmas. It's like it's Christmas time again, Charlie Brown. So okay.
You're tearing me apart, Charlie Brown.
So this special aired in the 90s. Very, like, we joked about the other one being little known, but this one kind of is, because it isn't aired anymore. It's on Hulu, but it stopped being aired like in the early 2000s. Obviously the first Charlie Brown kind of eats up Charlie Brown Christmas stuff, and then also I think there's another Charlie Brown Christmas something or other that fits in with a nice time slot with the original, like to make up an hour or something. So anyway, this one doesn't get that much love, but basically the idea is that it's just a series of vignettes about a few different characters just kind of going through just some random thing in the holidays, like Linus and Sally trying to sled in a box, or Charlie Brown selling wreaths door to door, Peppermint Patty and what's her name? The one that always calls her Sir. No, the other one. Marcy.
The one that likes her.
Marcy. Yeah.
Her girlfriend.
The one that thinks she's cute. Yeah, like them being in a play, like it's just vignettes. And I liked this quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, but I think, to me, I did find it kind of weird, and I actually do think the Charlie Brown Christmas, the first one, in my opinion, it's nice to have the vignettes, but to me, each different story was kind of distracting to me. Like, I just feel like a couple things didn't really go with each other. Like,
really,
yeah. I mean, it's cool to hear them selling, selling wreaths, but how is that going to connect to the play that they're all doing? It
again, commercialism starts out with them selling wreaths.
It's well, we'll get to that, but no, I mean, it's vignettes. It doesn't have to connect. That's the thing.
I felt like it was just messy, though. Like, I feel like it was all over the place.
Really?
Yeah, and I feel like if I had to choose one, clear narrative.
I think A Charlie Brown Christmas suffers from like, it's kind of vignette-y because they're based on comic strips, and comic strips are 3 panels. So
well, no, the thing is, like, I think that the Christmas special was written particularly for that purpose, but from what I read up on this, it's apparently based on a bunch of different pre-existing
Correct.
Peanuts comics.
But what
I could totally see that.
what I'm saying is that the first one I felt like it was kind of vignette-y, but because it was like overarching, like the segments of him like directing, like it just kind of felt like it went on and it's just like its own separate thing that kind of
I think
ties.
that they tried to find comedy in the repetition, but it probably doesn't fly as much today.
Maybe. Well, that's the other thing. Pacing on the first one is super slow because that's the time. There's long spaces between lines. This one doesn't have any pacing problems in terms. Well, I shouldn't say it. This one doesn't. It's faster. I found it more entertaining to watch. And again, I will also admit the bias of I've seen a Charlie Brown Christmas a million times. Like I saw it every year growing up. So, my eyes kind of glaze over in the middle of it because it's just like, okay, I've seen this. Whereas with this, I felt like I was never bored. I never wanted to check my phone because, lol, millennial, can't pay attention for 20 minutes. But no, like I didn't feel that at all in this because I felt like whenever one thing had maybe just about to overstay its welcome, okay, now we're with completely different characters who weren't even in the first one.
Like Peppermint Patty. Did you guys ever get the impression that Peppermint Patty had a crush on Charlie Brown? Like even in this special, she's always calling Charlie Brown.
Oh yeah, no, she definitely does. Well,
But he had his
I'm
heart
pretty
set
sure.
on the little redhead girl.
Well, not in this one. Can I just say that? Wait, what's her name? I wrote this down.
The redhead girl?
No, this is a different character. The redhead girl is not this girl.
Oh, it isn't?
No, it actually that's on the Wikipedia page or on the
No way.
that some people thought she was because her original hair color was not red in the comics. She was Charlie's actual girlfriend in the comics in the 90s. Her name Peggy something or other.
Peggy Hill.
I've written it down.
Dang it, Peggy! Oh yeah.
Oh, Peggy Jean. The character Peggy Jean that Charlie Brown's girlfriend Peggy Jean he met at camp sounds 100% like a fake story. So I was surprised when I looked it up and yeah, no, she's his actual girlfriend in the 90s in the comics.
But you know what it is though? I love Charles Schultz, but maybe it's just the repetitive character designs that made that confusion.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't have changed her hair color for the animated adaptation, but yeah, I found it funny. Peggy Jean just doesn't sound like a real name to me. Like, I don't know. But then again, Peppermint Patty certainly isn't. I mean, Patty is, but I don't know.
Peppermint Larry.
That was my horrible Peppermint Larry, by the way. Oh, have some candy.
But yeah, did you guys get the vibe that this was very, very lightly satirizing the original one, like in a few places?
I don't know how.
I didn't get that.
Okay, well,
No, me neither.
So first of all, you made a joke about this opening up with Charlie, or the second thing being Charlie selling wreaths. Sally even has this. She says something about like a way to be commercialist, or like, you're being very commercial.
Right.
She says that line, and it's like, yeah, I mean that's calling back to maybe how times are changing. Like a kid selling wreaths door to door to save up money for Christmas gifts. That shouldn't be seen as a commercialistic bad thing. It should be seen as a sweet thing. He's just trying to make a little money. He's not trying to be greedy.
Right. I mean, this one's more about kind of just like the gift, the giving and getting aspects of Christmas.
Right. And then the other thing that I felt was kind of almost is that when Linus went to give his biblical speech that he gives in all of these, apparently Sally just completely talks over it, which I like, again, may or may not have been intentional satire, but I felt like it was just kind of like he has this long monologue and she's just like, what am I going to ask for Christmas? Like,
That's interesting that you say that, because the idea of, because the first thing that comes to my mind when thinking about the specials is her writing her Christmas card, and you can see the title animation above her very well. To me, I just think that was a very good sequence.
Yeah.
And the idea of it's about getting. No, it's about, you mean to say giving? No, it's about getting. And I just, yeah.
My favorite joke was when I think it was Peppermint Patty was in the classroom and she was like, I really like that song composed by Handel. What's his first name? Joe.
My favorite joke was when Peppermint Patty is talking about why she can't read her book. She's like, I have to make the snowman because if I don't make the snowman, it won't exist. And then Marcy's response is just, "You're weird, sir."
Yeah.
Like that killed me. That I found that very funny.
I
So
like that. On a personal note too, I liked how Sally was selling the wreaths as being original cedars from Lebanon, which is a neat little detail because cedar tree is like the national tree of Lebanon.
huh.
So I thought it was interesting that she used that parallel.
Yeah, the one segment of this is basically chocolate with peanuts. But
Oh wow. I
Yeah.
love you.
um something I love about both of these, by the way, and I guess all of Peanuts, a lack of pop culture references. Like, dude, I love pop culture references. I'm a big nerd, of course. Like I've been watching Animaniacs. It's literally pop culture reference to the show. But it is wonderful to see like one piece of media out there that doesn't feel the need to like obsessively lampoon something else or throw in random reference. I mean, there's references in this, but it's all like classical philosophists and like writers and like it's not like, did you see that new Disney movie Aladdin? Like, the Lion
Let me
King.
go put that on my iPod.
Yeah, and but no, I love that. Like I found that to be so aside from the Coca-Cola that was edited out of the first one. Uh
It's interesting. Did you guys ever get the vibe? We were talking about the stylistic points of transition time period to another. But do you ever notice in this, especially, you did notice more wider perspectives, like an attempt to show more 3/4 shots of their faces, which compared to a lot of the other specials, I thought was something that you didn't really get to see a lot because it was mostly just the side profile and the front, and we got to see a bit more of the 3/4 shots,
that's
and
a good
even in the backgrounds too.
that's a good point. I mean, that's the thing. Like they look congruent with each other because the art, like the style has stayed the same. The character designs have
Mhm.
stayed the
A
same.
lot of the same crew worked on it too.
Really? 30 years later. Wow. But like
They got to keep that job security.
the animation itself is definitely smoother, obviously.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not
It's
like
more
beautiful, but it is smoother animation. The backgrounds are a lot more detailed, and one of the things is that this one definitely gives you the child perspective that Peanuts is known for, where they hadn't developed that at least in animation, or they didn't really focus on that in the first one. There are no adults like off screen or otherwise in the
Right.
first one, whereas this one has they're in a classroom, presumably there's a teacher there, we don't see it. Charlie's buying something and we hear the want, but we see Charlie is shorter than the shelf, like the counter, basically.
Yeah, and you get to see a bit of perspective with the shelf too.
And that's a lovely touch.
It really is, because like it's one of those things that your mind isn't you're not noticing, but your mind's picking up on it, and then looking back on it, it's like, oh, so they did do that differently. Even though I could watch this side by side with the first special and see a smooth transition.
Right.
Like
I
it
mean,
isn't jarring, but there's improvements.
the only reason I noticed these things is because I was specifically looking for them because I knew they were 30 years apart, and I figured there'd be some improvements. But like if you showed me
Yeah.
these two back to back on TV, I would have been like, oh well, that one was probably made after it. But I wouldn't have
So
pegged
Pi,
90s. Huh?
I can't believe you said that, because truth be told, when revisiting this, I had no idea that this special existed. So when I came to do this,
Mhm.
I realized that now that this was made in the 90s, I actually thought this was made in late 70s, early 80s.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, some of the 90s colors are there, kind of like the faded reds and the yellows.
90s colors. If you're
Given that I'm revisiting King of the Hill, I could see that.
It's weird because both specials more or less have the same amount of characters, but in the 60s special, you have pretty much the same main cast, so like Charlie Brown, Linus, Sally, Lucy, but like, you have background characters like Schroeder and Pigpen and Violet Gray, whereas in the 90s special, a lot of those background characters aren't there, but you find new background characters like the addition of Woodstock and his friends.
Oh yeah, Woodstock isn't in the first one.
Yeah, there's Franklin and Peppermint Patty and Marcy and all of the newer characters too.
Franklin, you say? We were going to talk about that this week, but there was too much news. So
I'll say one thing though. We talk about voice acting, child actors. I'd say among all the child actors in It's Christmas Time Again, Charlie Brown, I really felt like Franklin was like the hardest one for me to listen to. He was a really young. He sounded like a really kid. Like this is his first gig.
Yeah, it's bizarre too because he has like one line. So you think that maybe you could just, I don't know, get at least one take out of this kid that's good. Like
it actually reminded me of the Lego Movie at the very end with the toys. I was like in flashbacks to that. It's like no, that's a different movie.
So yeah, like I was saying a little bit ago, just do you think it would be a complete like cash in, trying to like utilize all the same things that made the first one great? And although like there are things like, for instance, the Charlie Brown Christmas tree does show up, but it shows up literally like 2 seconds before not literally 2 seconds, literally the last scene before the credits. It's on a TV and there's no mention of it. It's there. It's an Easter egg basically.
Yeah.
There's still Linus reading a biblical passage. There's still
A play.
Yeah, a play. Talk of commercialism. A character that has to be a sheep. Like Snoopy imitated a sheep in the first one, and there's a big deal about Peppermint Patty being a sheep here. Talk about what Sally wants for Christmas. Like there's a lot of things that kind of rhyme, if you will, with the first one, but they are not. This is not a rehash, I would say. This is yes, it's a Christmas episode. It's a Christmas special by Peanuts, but it does not try to. It's not desperately trying to cling to what made the first one great, which was so refreshing because you hear the title, It's Christmas Time Again, Charlie Brown, and it's like, oh, like it's like the time the guy that did the Monster Mash tried to make the Monster Mash 2.
It's the Graveyard Smash.
I'm not making that up, by the way.
Oh, really? Oh.
No. Look it up, kids. but no, like, so that was a refreshing change, 100%. And yeah, I mean, I don't think that this one is as meaningful in terms of being critical of consumerism and talking about depression and that sort of stuff like the first one does. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it is. I thought it was very fun. I thought it was very cute. I like the character of Peppermint Patty. I thought she's pretty endearing. Same thing with Marcy. Disbelieving, huh?
No, it wasn't as much disbelieving as more as it was like inquisitive,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm just I'll I also I like the joke about Charlie's girlfriend having just buying the gloves. I don't know how I didn't see that coming. I mean, I knew something was gonna come and mess up Charlie Brown's day, but just how like casually she's like, oh, and I got gloves. He's just like, no.
And for someone who has owned so many comics, that had to give away just for that to happen.
Say that again.
Like I said before, we're all Charlie. Like he had to get those gloves.
I'm sorry. You said he has to save up to get those gloves?
Yeah, he had to save up, sell the comic book, get the gloves. As someone who can relate to that, going on Macari and selling all my old comics. So go ahead, save the rent.
And I like that this one shows the more positive side of. I don't want to say the more positive side of commercialism, but it's it's showing that gifts can be more than just like you spend a bunch of money and you do whatever thing. It's the thought that counts. I also there's a good joke where I think it's Linus or Lucy tells Charlie to just send her a postcard that just says like stick your hands in your pockets. That's as good as gloves. Like
yeah, that Linus on their way to the... Yeah, that was a good joke. Also, it was like a lot of, to me, those did feel like the punchlines to the end of the comic strips.
Yep.
Like mentioning how this is just almost like a collection of Christmas comic strips put together, put in as vignettes is starting to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Not that there's anything wrong. The Peanuts characters are timeless.
Yeah.
You know.
Also,
So
Peppermint Patty is the type of girl that wears flip flops in the winter.
Peppermint Patty, she's a fascinating character. I'll tell you that.
It sounded like you called her fat for a
Yeah,
second.
that's what I thought.
Peppermint Fat.
God.
That's the parody.
Oh goodness.
Next controversy is the Peanuts fat shaming.
I've never seen a fat Peanuts character, so maybe. Oh.
Well, they had one of Snoopy's cousins, fat one. I can't remember his name. Oh my God, they do fat shame.
Oh no. All right. So I think I know where you guys fall, but I'll ask the question: which one do you prefer?
Do either of them have Christopher Walken singing as King Louis? No, I don't like any of them.
The Jungle Book is not an option on this poll.
Dang it! Ah man, why you gotta make me choose? Honestly though, I kind of like them evenly for their own different reasons. I can't believe I'm saying that. I hate being the middleman in this. Like, I kind of like the there are things that did get improved on with It's Christmas Time Again, Charlie Brown. However, I do feel like each vignette, in my opinion, I do feel like don't really connect to each other and that they're kind of loosely connected to each other. Whereas I feel like with the original, it has its problems, it has its shortcomings, but it does also highlight what does work about Peanuts and what does work about these holiday specials. That in some ways, it's kind of like, to me, it's almost like when talking about Toy Story to Toy Story 2, people always talk about Toy Story 2 being the better sequel, but at the end of the day, it's still being derivative to the original Toy Story. While it has its improvement, it's still a derivative of its original project that in some ways I hate that I have to make comparisons when judging things, but at
Well, you
this
picked
point,
the wrong podcast then.
yeah, basically I'm comparing the two shorts, so I kind of have to compare and contrast. That to me, the pro cons of each one kind of outweigh each other. No, don't really outweigh each other, so I end up enjoying them evenly. God, I hate being the middleman.
Well, listen, if there's one rule on the recast, it's that both is never an option. So
all right,
I'm gonna.
Do we have Russian roulette? Do you just give me the gun, just put one bullet? I'll just have to shoot at each one and find out which one gets it.
I'm gonna push it over to Monsters, and then I'm gonna say my piece, and then hopefully maybe by then you'll have one that you think is slightly prefer. Monsters, how about you?
Yeah, for me, it's easily the first one. I mean, yes, the second one has more advancements, cleaner animation, more detailed backgrounds. The jazzy music is more layered, but I feel like the simplicity of the first one is oddly charming and just kind of hits me in the feels a bit more. And like I mentioned before, this one, the original Charlie Brown Christmas got me into that Christmas mood. Not many pieces of media can do that. Whereas in this Christmastime Again special, for me, I just, it didn't feel like Christmas to me. Yes, they're doing a bunch of Christmassy things like buying gifts and witnessing Christmas plays and just kind of talking about the matter, but it just, tonally, I didn't think it was there. Like, just the atmosphere. Whereas in the first, I think it captured it perfectly with the snow and the music and the imagery. And yeah, so I like the first one more.
Okay, that's fair. So I feel like I'm in. This is like kind of like the same position I was in last week with the Lion King and the Lion King 1.5, where it's just like, I mean, yeah, the Lion King is like the better movie, definitely technically, but I would just prefer to see 1.5. Where like the first one does tap into something special, and I think that there is more than just I've seen this a bunch of times, or like socially, like, we've deemed this as like, I think there's a reason that it became the Christmas special. I don't think that it's without flaws. I think that it has some significant ones when looking at it critically. And if I'm being honest, I kind of find parts of it to be a bit boring. Whereas with Christmas Time Again, I wasn't bored with any of it. But then again, maybe if I saw it every year, I would be. But no, I feel like It's Christmas Time Again does capture the comic strips better. I feel like the punchlines made me laugh a lot, and I feel like I would rather have a bunch of just tiny stories than one story that kind of has some weird problems at the end and gets a little bit slow in the middle. So I'm gonna say It's Christmas Time Again, but I definitely do concede that the Charlie Brown Christmas that's the iconic one, and for a good reason. And also, we're comparing things from the 60s and the 90s, so it's like, I don't know, people get upset sometimes. They're like, it's not a fair comparison. And it's like, well, it doesn't have to be. Like, it's a comparison. If you want to say with the caveat of for its time, then certainly, sure. Charlie Brown Christmas is better for its time than, It's Christmas Time Again for its time or whatever. But we're just sitting here and comparing them. So I did. Joey, did you come up with anything?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, listen to the argument. For me personally, even though It's Christmas Time Again, Charlie Brown does improve on certain aspects, I do agree with Monsters that it does capture, the essence of Christmas. And like I mentioned before, I feel like what we think about when we come to Peanuts, did start with this short, and as judging it by its own thing, I do think it, even though being made in the 60s, does hold up, despite its few flaws. I mean, it's still enjoyable in the same way I still enjoy Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for all of its flaws. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the original one. It's Christmas Time, Charlie Brown.
All right. Fair enough. Okay. So now we have a trivia game, which is somewhat being made up on the fly by me, but I have a pretty cool idea. Monsters kind of mentioned something related to this earlier, so I hope that doesn't give him too much of an advantage. But you guys,
Do I answer this in the form of a question?
no, this is not Jeopardy.
Okay.
All right. I am going to say.
Show me. No, I was kidding.
So I'm going to say a character, and basically you have to tell me which of the two specials they were in. If both, if neither, if one or the other. We will alternate in terms of who gets to go first, and there's going to be 4 of these.
Okay.
All right. So
Pressure's on.
okay. So
Who's going first?
So you can go first, Monsters.
Okay.
Okay. The character of Patty.
Oh, wait. Just Patty?
First name Peppermint.
Wait, Peppermint Patty.
Oh man, that's a hard one.
Just Patty.
Oh, just Patty.
Just Patty. It is just it's Patty is a different character from Peppermint Patty.
Okay. Well,
yes.
I don't believe that they're both in the same one, so I'm going to say the original.
Okay. Joey?
It's a trick question. I'm gonna say she's either.
Nope, she's in the original.
Oh shoot!
She's one of the girls that hates Charlie Brown.
Did Charles Schultz just not get original with creating character?
I will Patty. I will admit I was intentionally confusing on that question, and I apologize for that. But yeah. All right. Number 2. So Joey, you're gonna go first.
All right.
The character of Frida.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not gonna pick like Charlie Brown for these,
Yeah, no. When you think, you gotta go all out. That's good.
We're a fan of unfair quizzes here.
Yeah.
Frida. Can I call a lifeline?
No.
Okay, no lifelines. I can't call a friend. Get someone else to join the. Okay.
Hurry up, or I'm gonna think you're Wikipediaing it.
No Wikipedia in this. That's for sure. Well, I'll tell you, she was also in El Tigre, but that's a completely different cartoon. Also in Coco, but it's the original Frida Kahlo. But as far as these two specials, man, I'm just because I don't know what I'm saying, I'll just go with the original.
Monsters.
Frida does not sound like a recognizable name to me, so I am going to say the 1992 one.
Joey is correct. Monsters is not. She is in the
Ah.
original. Yeah.
Thank God for guessing. It's always C, guys. It's always C.
So it's 1-1. Also, if you pay attention to the recast, you'll know that the answer is never both. So I will never pick a both. Might pick a neither though. All right. I'll go with an easier one. Pigpen. Monsters, you go first.
The original.
Joey,
The original.
you are both correct. 2-2. Last question. Franklin.
The second one. Oh shoot! Monsters was supposed to go first. I'm sorry.
No, you're supposed to go first.
Yeah, you go first, Joey.
Yeah. It was It's Christmas Time again. Charlie Brown. He was in the second one.
Yes, that is
Monsters.
correct.
All right, you are both correct.
3-3. We can't tie it up. We gotta get one more question.
Yeah, that's the. I'm working on it. Okay. All right. Maurice.
Ooh.
Monsters.
I'm gonna
And I'm not talking about the guy that voices the brain.
it's not Maurice LaMarche.
No.
I'm gonna say the 90s one.
Joey.
Crazy old Maurice, eh? Crazy old Maurice. I'll go with the original.
Monsters is correct.
Oh.
Despite Maurice sounding like an old-timey name, that was the 90s.
I
All
did
right.
better than 50%.
Good job, Monsters. Joey, you did a good job too.
Yeah.
Also, I
That
hope
was
these Wikipedia or these wiki articles are correct, and I didn't just mess someone out of a victory.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Joey, where can people find you?
All right, so on YouTube, my channel is called Joey Joeyt Cartoon.P. So my channel is Joey Tedesco's Cartoon Palooza. I use that same handle for my Twitter account. I do start posting all my artwork on Instagram, but not through the same handle. It's going to be through Tedsy91. And also a Facebook page with the Joey.T.Cartoon.P handle. I post movie reviews. The last month and a half has been kind of a slump with me, with my personal life and whatnot. Trying not to get into like whole details and whatnot, but basically, I'm going to start posting more reviews come the holiday season. Starting hopefully with this Saturday, where I'll be ranking all the Pixar movies.
So yesterday, then.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess. True that. Yeah, that's the video I'm planning on putting out next. Is a ranking of all the current Pixar movies.
Cool.
All right. Those links will be down in the description as well. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, this was fun, man. This was fun.
All right. With that, Pie Guy Rules out.
Catch you guys next time.
That's all, folks.